You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing... Wow, I didn't change this. Out of all the things. Today we're discussing chapters 119, no 122. Yay!
Yay.
Another big
Extra
chunk.
long episode.
Long episode. Although I think the last one wasn't too long. It was as long as like some of our early episodes, but I feel like in more recent times we've been very succinct, other than the banter.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, I'm sure this one will also be quite a chunk because it's a big... So many things happened that we have to discuss.
I feel like there's more variety of things happening in this set of 4 than the last set of 4.
I looked at this chapter and I was like, oh, these are about the same like incident, so it makes sense. But there's like 3 completely different storylines that crash here. So
yeah, but they're all like interwoven, so it'd be hard to break them up.
Yeah, exactly.
But the last chunk was pretty much like
that reminds me.
Solidly like Akito's issues, the book. So
in the book,
yeah,
the untold story of Akito.
Yeah, but this one's got a little more mix of things happening.
Like, it's
more everyone's
like,
issues.
Yes, it's also all the same time. Like it all happens in one span of time, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's also got like story within a story kind of stuff going on.
It has so many people's memories and different people's perspectives, different characters' perspectives and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's talk. Speaking of which, let's segue into that seamlessly, because it's going to be long. You heard me seamlessly.
That seemed to be found.
Nope.
You should make like a really like awkward audio cut there too.
Like just put in some random music where it's like, and we're here now.
Yeah, seamlessly.
Seamless. Oh, I won't, because I'm already going to have to edit out like 3 hours of content from the other episode. Anyway, we're doing, this episode is, I think, out of all the chapters, this one has the most just like straight up dialogue. Like 90% of it is dialogue. So everybody break out your volume, because I feel like this is a good read along. If you don't read along, which I know Kayla does, this would be a good one to read along.
Time with Ellen.
Yay. If I can ever stop coughing, everything's fine.
Yeah, right.
I just like breathe. You know when you get a little like, there's just something in my throat.
Are you choking? Can you...
Baby, can you hear me? Baby. Always the best part. One time, the most recent time I got CPR certified, the person certified us by, instead of doing like a paper quiz or something, it was like she asked us questions at the end of the segment and was like, so, and it was always like a scenario. So it was like, what do you do if you go in a room and you see someone like passed out on the floor? And it was like, I leave the area, I call 911, I do this thing or whatever, you know. And like for that segment she was like, what if you were passing by a room and you notice a baby there alone, or like, and the baby's passed out? And we were like, well, I guess I would just call the cops anyway, because what the fuck? And she was like, yeah. Good point. It was really funny.
Like, there's a baby
just alone
here.
Okay, let's talk about Furuba. So chapter 119 opens where we left off, at Shigure's house. Kyo is about to leave, and Tohru stands in the doorway. Tohru starts to speak, but Kyo cuts her off. Look, there's something I wanted to ask you for a while now, too. If I'm not getting something, you can make fun of me as much as you want, he says. He looks into her eyes and asks her, do you like me? Tohru blushes, speechless. Memories of her run through his mind, and Momiji saying, I mean, you can tell, can't you? Kyo lowers his head. He had a bad feeling about this, and it turns out he was right. That's stupid, he says, at her speechless, yet obvious answer. I didn't think you were that stupid. He wonders, why him of all people? Didn't you like your mom, he asks, or was that a lie? Is all that gone now? He turns and steps out, saying, I can't do this. I wish I hadn't been near her, he thinks. Why did I hope that I could be close to her the time I had left? If this was going to happen, it's too much. I don't want to tell her. I don't want to admit it. It's too much. And Tohru follows him, barefoot, into the rain, and she calls to him, Kyokin, please listen. You don't know anything about the stuff I've done, he screams. I feel sorry for you. Thinking that you like me, he thinks, you're stupid. I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. Eyes wide and terrified, Kyo starts to cry. She wouldn't have died, okay, he says. Your mom, I knew her. That day, the day of the accident, I saw her standing near me. I recognized her. Her profile, her hair, Kyo recognized us from his childhood. When he had just started living with Shisho, he still felt weird going home right away. He would wander on his way home from school, and that's how he ended up meeting Kyoko. We see in the past, baby Kyo sits on a stack of pipes for construction. I was like, what is he sitting on? A child shouldn't be there, first of all. Kyoko approaches him. What's up with you? You're just a kid and you have orange hair, she says cheerfully. Kyo meeps. Unless it's natural. What's up with you? He says. It's none of your business. You're not my friend. I'll kill you. Whoa, what the hell? He's totally cute. How adorable, Kyoko says. And Kyo's like, don't call me cute, hag. And Kyoko's like, oh, he's saying stuff. If you're that cute, everyone will end up hating you. Go home. Your mom must be worried. I don't have one, he shouts. She died. Kyoko asks about his dad, and he says, I don't need him. He can drop dead. He thinks I'm better off dead, too. Kyoko's eyes widen. She sits beside him and pats his head. Wow, they must be lonely, she says. She smiles softly at him, and baby Kyo is surprised. Hey, you, is that your real hair? He asks. Hey, you isn't very polite, you know, she says, and she tells him to call her Kyoko. She asks his name, but he refuses to tell her because for some reason he doesn't like how similar their names are. She decides to call him Kiddo, and he's like, what's a kiddo? Kyoko worked near there. He visited her a lot. They would talk about all kinds of things. Katsuya, herself, and Tohru. He wondered what baby Tohru was like. One day, Kyoko shows him a photo of her treasure, as she calls her, Tohru. He wondered, what would it sound like when she laughed? Later, a slightly older Kyo finds Kyoko crying outside their apartment. Tohru hasn't come home, she tells him, teary-eyed. Don't worry, I'll do it, Kyo says, fist raised. I'll find her no matter what. You wait at home. I'll protect her. I promise, as a man. Kyoko is clearly touched, and they bump fists. Kyo takes off. Later, Kyoko finds him panting and huffing. It turns out that Toru's okay. Someone helped her. Kyoko apologizes for putting him through all this trouble. Kyo notices the hat that she's carrying. It's Yuki's hat, of course, and he asks about it. Oh, this, she says? The boy who helped Tohru was wearing it. Do you know it or something? Kyo remembers it, of course. He chose it. Shisho bought it for him. But it was blown off and it had moved on to Yuki. No, Kyo says to Kyoko. Anything that he touched isn't mine anymore. He's a jerk. I hate him. He has everything and everybody loves him. Why does he have to take people's stuff? Kyoko says he helped Tohru. He's still a jerk, Kyo shouts. A bad person. I was going to help her. Kyoko smiles knowingly and says, you want him to be like that, don't you? If you didn't have someone to hate, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself, would you? What? He says. You're taking his side too? Are you blaming me? That's not it, she says. Taking a side, being considered good or bad. It's all so stupid. If you live your life and only focus on those things, you'll be wasting the time you do have. I mean, look at you. You're such a kind, wonderful little boy. Kyo hesitates, but he spits back in anger again. That doesn't make any sense, you traitor. Who cares about you? Who cares about any of you anymore? He turns to leave. Kyoko stands. Hey, kiddo, about your promise. I'll put it on your tab. And that was the last time, Kyo thinks. The loneliness of feeling betrayed, the shame about being useless, getting pissed, losing my thunder. I brooded over all of that and avoided her, although now I can see that it was the act of a complete child. Then we met again on that day. We see the car speeding, Kyo reaching out to Kyoko but hesitating, and Kyoko looks back just before the car hits. In the present, he tells Tohru, I didn't know what to do, if I should say something, and then there was the car. It was speeding and I could tell it was headed for your mom. I knew I had to save her. If only I grabbed her arm and held her back, but I'm not human. I would have turned into a cat. Then everyone would have known that I'm not human. I let her die. If I just held her back, she wouldn't have gone flying in the air. Felt all that pain. I know that she wouldn't have died, but I didn't. I weighed your mom's life against my own, and I chose myself. We see Kyo's memory. Onlookers are terrified, and Kyoko on the ground, surrounded by blood, limp. I protected myself, he continues. I protected myself over even her life. He grabs at his shirt and he looks down and he cries. He thinks, I hate myself for being like this. Things would be better if I was gone, if I just disappear. But in the end, I always protect myself. I indulge myself and run away, always. Even now, I'm so scared I can't look you in the face. It was the same with my mom, he says to Tohru. She flew when she died. It wasn't a car, but she said she was sorry for giving birth to me. She said that she felt so sorry for me, that it was too hard. She couldn't be near me. We see his memory as a child, and he watches from afar as his mother cries. His father stands over her, yelling. She cried her eyes out, and the next day she died. We see the words of others of the family swirled around her death. An accident? And that evening I heard her arguing with her husband. We see the words from Kyo's asshole father from before. This is your fault, Kyo. You backed your mother into a corner. Baby Kyo covers his ears and screams, It's not my fault! That's not it, he thinks. Go on. You ran away because you know, right? Admit it. Go. It's all my fault, he says to Tohru. I did it. I took them. I let them die. Chapter 120 continues. The chapter opens with Akito making her way down the streets toward Shigure's house, still clutching the knife. Kyo remembers meeting Kyoko again and narrates, I felt like I was going to cry. The truth is I didn't understand what she meant when she said that must be lonely, but it felt like I'd been forgiven. A complete stranger had forgiven my existence, and still, maybe that's not what you meant. We see another memory. Kyo speaks to Shisho after meeting Kyoko. I met some weird lady, he says, and Shisho asks what he means. Not like bad or anything, just weird, Kyo says. She told me to see her again, even though she's not my friend or anything. Shisho smiles. Well, then you'll just have to go see her again, won't you? I always thought Shisho was the only person like that, Kyo narrates, even though I know that sounds weird. My mom was always staring at me suspiciously, my father was always spitting hate, and everyone else in this whole family looked down on me. I've been rejected by everyone in my entire life. Of Kyoko, he thinks, she seemed to me like hope, like light. He thinks of sneaking to see Tohru as a child, looking into their apartment from outside. Honestly, I did want to meet Tohru, he narrates, but I only thought about it, and when I went to see her, it was only the one time, and she looked so lonely. I hated that. I wanted her to be happy, I really did. I wanted the days that lady and that girl spent together to be protected by happiness. It was a kid's sentiment. He wondered about Tohru. Was she lonely? Was she smiling? It was like something blossomed somewhere inside my heart, he thinks. It bothered me a lot, so much that I went to see her again, but that day was the day that Tohru went missing and Yuki led her home. After what happened, it ended, Kyo narrates. And even when I saw her again, and he thinks of Kyoko, the day of the accident, it ended just like that. In the present, he tells Tohru, She said that she wouldn't forgive me. From the pool of blood, your mom saw me standing there and told me, I won't forgive you. I know it. I know that's what I heard her say, he says, remembering Kyoko's dying words to him. Tohru looks down and tears fall. I couldn't do anything. The inside of my head went blank and everything got jumbled up inside me. I started running. In the past, after Kyo ran away from the accident, Shisho finds him at home. Kyo sits on the floor in the dark, barefoot, arms down, almost limp. He doesn't respond when Shisho asks what happened. Kyo tells Tohru in the present that Shisho took him to live in the mountains, and Tohru remembers Shigure telling her that Kyo was training for 4 months. Yeah, I sure as hell wasn't training, he says. I just stopped, he narrates. I was trapped in a dark place and couldn't move. He tells Tohru that Shisho tried to revive him, but no matter what he did, Kyo couldn't forgive himself. I felt like the only thing left to do was die like she had, he says. In his memories, we see this scene that we've seen foreshadowed so many times before, where Shisho and Kyo stand in the woods. Kyo is bedraggled and barefoot. It's not my fault, he says to Shisho, eyes wide and wild. It's his. This is all Yuki's fault. My hope. That stupid rat stole it all. Shisho frowns. In the present, Yuki wakes up and sees, and maybe hears, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but he sees them Kyo and Tohru talking outside. Kyo tells Tohru, I told myself that it was Yuki's fault. I made him up as a bad guy and shoved the responsibility onto him. I didn't have anything to base it on. I didn't need that. I just needed him to be the bad guy for me. Everything I didn't like could be his fault, and I could pretend that I'd forgotten. I had to keep hating him. I had to. It was so simple. I couldn't believe how much better I felt. I just shifted the blame. I've done that since I was a kid. Protecting myself is the one thing that I'm good at. Kyo looks truly ashamed and adds, Aren't I horrible? He tells her that he cheered up enough to leave the mountains and decided to live off of his hatred. He remembers Shisho smiling so sadly at him as he departs. It turns out that his father had told Akito that he'd gone missing, and so Akito called Kyo in and let him have it after he returned. They fought for a while, but in the end, they ended up making the bet. In Kyo's memory, Akito says, If you can really beat Yuki by the time you graduate from high school, I'll stop calling you a monster. I'll even let you join the Zodiac. In the memory, Kyo's eyes go wide at the possibility, and he narrates, Maybe deep down, I was really happy to be told that, not because I could join the Zodiac, but because I had another reason to hate Yuki, and I went straight for him. In the present, he tells Tohru that after that, he never thought he'd actually meet her. He remembers crashing through the ceiling and transforming. Shigure tells him, That's Tohru Honda, and Kyo looks panicked and we see his thoughts from that time. What? Why is she here? I thought I could finally forget all that, he thinks of Kyoko. Are you trying to tell me that you won't let me forget? In the present, Toru's fists are clenched and she looks down. Do you think you could ever forgive me, Kyo asks, for always running away, for pretending I didn't realize when I met you, for saying nothing? I was angry and afraid, he thinks, and he remembers the time they spent together early on, apologizing and fixing the roof, Kyo dragging her out of her grandfather's house, Toru smiling and telling him about the metaphorical plum on his back, spending time on the roof teaching her how to throw a punch, Toru finding him and their hug after he transformed into his true form. I didn't mean to get so deeply involved, he thinks. I didn't mean to fall in love with you. I can't forgive even myself, he says, and I don't want you to forgive me anymore. I won't forgive you, Toru says. She lifts her head, determined and angry. Do I have to say that? Forgiving you or not? Are those my only choices? Yuki comes down the stairs behind her. You said that Mom said I won't forgive you, but she wouldn't say that, Tohru shouts, crying. I can't believe that she would say something like that, but if she really did say that, then I have no choice. I have to go against my mother, okay? Even with all that, no matter what happens, I love you, Kyo-kun. Why can't you just accept that? A moment passes and Kyo looks away. Now, I'm disillusioned, he says. Teary-eyed Tohru remembers Kyo holding her through the sheet and saying, I won't be disillusioned. Kyo bolts. Yuki hastily pushes through the door. Kyo, wait! He looks back at Tohru and tells her to go inside and dry off, and Yuki follows after Kyo with parting words, damn that idiot. Tohru walks away from the house instead of going inside, and Akito, meanwhile, has finally made it to Shigure's. As Kyo runs away, we see the narration. The only things I ever did were for myself. I only cared about myself and my own penance. And through everything I've ignored your feelings, and sometimes you never get the chance to apologize to someone. I knew that, but if I'm going to repeat the same thing, how is that different than not knowing at all? That's the end of chapter 120. Yay? Question mark. So chapter 121 opens with Kyo crying, and Kyoko's death and the words, I let her die. And we see Toru's narration. I knew that if that were true, it would be heartbreaking, but she thinks of Kyo saying, I'm disillusioned. But when he said that, through an opening in his orange hair, I saw his eyes shine. I'm sad, terribly sad, those eyes spoke to me. That was the saddest thing of all, and the most endearing, even more than my mom. Outside, Akito confronts Tohru. It's hopeless, Akito says. It's over. The end is coming. Knife clearly visible in her hand, she asks, Are you abandoning me? Is this desertion? Tohru imagines her mother, same as how she imagined her standing kind of dejectedly in the alley near Shisho's house, as Akito says, Are you leaving me behind? Akito and Tohru start to cry. Yuki runs into Shigure coming home from some kind of crazy all-night drinking party with his writer chums. Ease up on that sort of thing, he shouts. You're like our guardian, and that's really... Wait, you're not important right now, he says. Shigure is like, ouch. Yuki asks if Shigure has seen that idiot, but it turns out they didn't cross paths, and Shigure asks if Kyo did something.
Everybody's like, oh, the idiot.
The idiot. He's like, what? Oh, the idiot. Yeah, that's great. I don't really know the details, Yuki says, but he's so stupid. Why is he making her cry? On the sidewalk, Kyo stops. At Shigure's, Akito confronts Tohru. Are you happy now? You win. You've completely stolen the place where I belong. You made me the outsider and everyone loves you. Do you like that? We see the narration. Maybe Tohru's thoughts. The feeling of being left behind. The loneliness of being left behind. Thanks to you, Akito says, I'm all alone. I'm the mistake, the bad guy. Do you like that? Oh, Tohru thinks. Finally, I can see it. I hate you, Akito screams, threatening Tohru with the knife. You just destroy other people's worlds, but you stay this clean and beautiful existence. You're the dirty one here. Tohru steps forward toward Akito, the knife just in front of her abdomen. You were there the whole time, weren't you? She says. Stay back, Akito shouts and slashes at Tohru's arm, cutting her. Stay away from me. You make me sick. I was so thoughtless, Tohru thinks. I hate it. Since you were born, you were treated as special, a being who wasn't part of a circle but standing above it. You treated others like that was the truth, and they treated you back the same way. I see now. Tohru imagines Akito sitting to the side as juunishi gather in front of her. That's no different than being left behind. Akito-san, you've been lonely, but you were acting strong, Tohru says. Eternity, permanence, you talked about those things. You kept repeating them. It was because you were scared not to. You were so scared you couldn't stop. Akito's completely taken aback by Tohru's words. Shut up, she screams and slaps her, dropping the knife. You don't know me. Do you think that you know better than me? I won't fall for your crap. You won't win me over. I'm dirty, Tohru says, just like you said, Akito-san. I denied the permanence you were wishing for, but the truth is I was wishing for it too. Tohru thinks of her mother, smiling and holding hands. For permanence, for unchanging feelings, for bonds. She imagines her mom saying, We'll always be together. Tohru cries. Mom, she thinks, I've fallen in love. If continuing to change is a part of life, how cruel that kindness is. I was so troubled by it, and he told me that he's disillusioned, but I love him. Even if my feelings end up unfulfilled, I won't let anything stop me anymore. She imagines letting go of her mom's hand and thinks, Mom, I'm going. To Akito, Tohru says, People, feelings, they can't be tied up, Akito-san. I'm sure you realize that. I know, it's such an awful thought. It's sad and painful. Akito imagines Kureno, Momiji, Shigure, Yuki, and Akira, her father. No, she screams desperately. I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to live in a world like this. Akito runs, and Tohru follows. I hate this. No one needs me. The world is full of strangers, Akito thinks. And Tohru catches up with her and tries to calm her, but Akito pushes her away. It's not even my fault, Akito screams. Now I see it and I hate it. I can't live in a world like this. With them, with strangers, with no promise and no bond, no eternity. Akito grabs Tohru's collar. I'm scared. I have no guarantee that anyone will love me, and I can't live like this surrounded by strangers. I can't. I'm afraid of the world, Akito thinks. Then, Tohru says, do you want to start with me? Right now, right here? The way we met was all wrong. Hello, I'm Tohru Honda. She holds out her hand and smiles, encouragingly. What's your name? I want the two of us to be friends. Akito slaps her hand away. Akito shakes. Liar, she says. If I start crying, you'll get irritated. If you get mad, you'll hate me and you'll abandon me. Tohru holds out her hand again and smiles a warm, reassuring smile. Akito thinks of her words. You were there the whole time, weren't you? And imagines the same scene sitting separated from the juunishi, but Tohru at her side. Akito cries. She lowers her hand as if she's about to reach out to Tohru, but suddenly the ground beneath Tohru's feet gives way and crumbles, and Akito watches as she falls, unable to stop it. The chapter closes on Akito starting to panic, Tohru laying motionless below and Tohru's words. What's your name? I want the two of us to become friends.
Dun, dun.
Oh my god. Okay. Chapter 122 opens with Akito screaming for help, and Shigure and Yuki hear her. Even Kyo seems to be close enough to hear her. Akito runs for help, and she remembers someone saying, or maybe it's ambiguous narration, Akito-san, don't cry. Please don't cry when you're alone. It's okay. The scary part is all over. She runs into Shigure, crying, and explains that Tohru fell and that she's not moving. Yuki immediately goes to call an ambulance, like the only adult around. And Shigure asks if Akito pushed her. She says she didn't. The ground suddenly crumbled, and she admits that she stabbed Kureno, and Shigure's eyes look distant. Yuki passes them and tells him to explain what happened when the ambulance arrives. He runs to find Tohru and looks shocked as he sees where she fell from the top of the cliff. At the house, Shigure calls Tohru and tells him that Akito is with him. He says that Akito is fine, but perfectly on time for Kyo to hear. He says that Tohru fell from a cliff, apparently. Kyo runs out of the house, panicked, and Shigure notices. He hangs up the phone and sighs. Shigure goes to sit beside Akito, who huddles by the door, crying. He takes off his jacket and covers her shoulders. Shigure delivers the news that Kureno is fine for the time being. Outside, Kyo hustles to find where Tohru fell, and he finds Yuki crouched concernedly over her. Tohru lies motionless, unnaturally still. Kyo's eyes widen and he drops to his knees and reaches out. And Yuki tells him not to touch her. He pulls away and sees blood on his hand. He immediately remembers Kyoko lying in blood after being hit by the car. Wait, he says. No, this is all wrong. This isn't what I wanted. Tohru, wait. In Tohru's passed out inner monologue, she thinks, don't cry. Don't cry anymore. Who's crying? Akito-san? Kyokun? Oh, I have to chase after Kyokun. I have to tell him, the one person that I love so deeply, I have to tell him I'm glad I met you. She thinks of some of the times that they spent together, just as he did earlier. The first time that she bumped into him and he transformed. Tohru telling him that she loves the cat. His smiles. It may have been painful for you, Kyokun, but I'm really happy to have met you. Your awkward kindness, your smile, and your embarrassed face. They made me so happy, so much that little by little that happiness became tenderness. She remembers their hug after his true form was revealed and thinks, more than anything that day I chased after you so desperately, it was because I'd fallen in love with you, Kyokun. I love you. That's why I didn't want you to leave. Being near you, my feelings, maybe they hurt you, but still, please don't cry anymore. I know that happy things and fun things eventually come to an end. But things that are scary and sad come to an end too. They always do. Even if you don't always believe that, please don't give up. Live. I want you to live. Even if you make a mistake, even if you take the long way, it's okay. Please live. Don't give up on pushing forward. Please, at least don't give up on that. Even if I'm not by your side, it's still okay. Crying, Kyo kneels over Tohru, and Tohru lifts up her hand to his cheek. He says her name and she turns her head. It's okay, she says. It's okay. Can you hear me, she wonders? Am I reaching you? Sirens herald the arrival of the ambulance and Yuki leaves to meet the crew. Kyo takes Tohru's hand. That's enough, I get it, he says. Just stop talking. The chapter closes on Tohru's thoughts. Please reach him, as Kyo leans down and kisses her.
Dun, dun, dun.
If you didn't gasp and you're reading that for the first time, I don't know who you are as a human. Listen.
So much drama.
So many dramas that happen. I remember reading this for the first time as a youth. Just clutching the book, flipping all the pages as fast as possible. Let's talk about all the drama. Are you ready?
Born ready.
I was born ready. Like, I don't know. I don't think I could take it. I already screamed so much. I'm running out of energy. All right. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying that chapter 121 has the cover art of what I imagine to be the most awkward banquet dance. I know that we talked about it a couple of times in spoilers because we couldn't talk about it before, but there's this, like, it's Shigure and Kureno together. Like, can you imagine how angry and tense that dance must be? Everyone watching is like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, and then on the flip page it has a little sketch of, like...
Yes.
Kureno, like, wanting to run away.
Yeah, the same as described, yes. The most stressful situation to be in.
Another thing that's, like, not funny, but it made me laugh, is, like, when Kyo comes home after everything, like, just in time to hear that Tohru fell off the cliff. It's like he comes home and Akito's sitting on the porch. And it's like, we have all this thing of, like, Kyo coming home, and there's, like, just some random person there. He's like, why is this person here? And it's like, now it's fucking Akito. He's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Here? Crying. And, like, all dirty and whatever. And then he's like, by the way, things are real crazy at Tohru. I hear Tohru fell off a cliff. Yeah. And then Kyo's like, what?
Yeah.
Not the return that he was expecting.
I like how they're both like, you only see one half of the conversation, but you have him be like, it's like, things are crazy over here. Yeah, things are crazy over here too.
Yeah. I like how he also just hangs up the phone. There's no goodbye or anything. He's just like, yeah, bye. And then he just, like, sighs.
Yeah.
Tohru was just like, pardon me?
He's like, first of all, rude.
Yeah. He's probably like, man, I would really be over there if I wasn't dealing with some other crazy shit right now.
Yeah.
He's like, did you tell Kyo not to touch her? And Shigure's like, what? I love how Kyo goes down there and Yuki's immediately like, don't touch her.
Yeah.
Again, Yuki's the only responsible adult.
Yeah.
Weren't we just talking about first aid? Oh, yeah, because I was joking.
Yeah. I love the bit where Yuki's, like, scolding Shigure for being a bad guardian.
Yes. And then he's like, wait, you're not important right now.
Yeah.
It's like he had to take a second to remember that he needed to get off his high horse to, like, remember what he was doing. I love also in that scene, as you pointed out, he's like, have you seen the idiot? And Shigure's like, what? Oh, that idiot.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I haven't seen him.
I feel like this would be the most... Can you imagine if you were out partying all night such that you come home... We know that Yuki's a late riser, right? So you come home after Yuki wakes up. Yeah. And you're probably still drunk. And there's, like, someone... Akito's, like, someone you know is, like, stabbing people and people are falling off of cliffs. I'd be like, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah. Like, I'm too hungover to deal with this.
Still drunk. Too drunk.
Yeah.
I found the redeeming thing that Shigure did, guys. He put his jacket on Akito, which is obviously the most tender, other than bonking someone in the head, the most tender action you can take toward the person that you care about, obviously.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say, like, this is kind of, like, the only time I kind of, like, ship them, as it were. Like, the,
yeah.
This is, like, the scene where she's, like, running through the forest calling for help, and she runs into him, and he's, like, able to calm her down and hold onto her hand. And
yeah, but then he's like, oh, did you push her? And it's like, excuse
I actually
you.
like that, too. It's, like, really, like, honest, like, understanding of each other. Like, it's like he doesn't, like, do it in a scolding way. He's just like, did you push her? And she's like, no, it wasn't me.
He's like, no?
But I did do this other bad thing. Like,
by the way, I also stabbed Kureno, and his eyes just go blank, like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of like, they seem like people who, like, care about each other for this, like chapter. Like,
yeah, he definitely doesn't, like, react super negatively to anything that she did, where he's just like, okay, fine, we're gonna deal with this. I'm gonna go call Hattori and whatever. His face is really interesting when she says that she stabbed Kureno, too, where it's like, I feel like, is he like, oh shit? It's like, I didn't think this, it looks to me like this kind of like, I had no idea that this was, like, even a possibility, because he's scheming all of these things, although, I mean, she's kind of, Akito's manipulating him as well, right, by using Kureno, so,
yeah,
I feel like it really is something that, like, he probably felt like he knew everything, and it seems like there's something that's beyond regular shock about it. I don't know why, you know? I don't know, it's an interesting...
Yeah.
Another interesting expression of Shigure is that we'll never understand.
And yeah, then just him like putting the coat on her and just sitting beside her while they wait for the ambulance. Nice kind of quiet relationship moment between the two of them that we don't get very much of.
No, he's actually like being nice to her, which we don't see very much. So
yeah.
Just wanted to point out that I found a redeeming element of Shigure's character. Drunk Shigure is nice Shigure. I mean, what?
Yeah.
It's really hard to be mean when you're hungover, though. So
yeah.
Or like, it's hard to be like willfully, spiritedly mean, I guess, like he normally is.
The ambulance comes in and he's like, "Do we have to have the siren today?"
Yeah, like, could you like turn it down? It's like, Yuki, can you stop screaming?
Yeah. Everyone just stop freaking out. I can't deal with it.
Yeah. Good times.
Stop stabbing people. Stop falling off cliffs. I can't.
Cliffs stop crumbling. The biggest spoiler of all. The spoiler we first talked about, I'm sure, in our first episode has finally come to a head, which is that the freaking land where Shigure's house is so unstable that apparently it can just crumble under your feet at any time and crush you or your tent that you bought on sale, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the second time Shigure's land has almost killed Tohru.
It's like no one's directly responsible for Tohru being injured. However, except for Akito. However,
yeah, we got a lot of really early game spoilers finally paid off in these chapters. Because we had the cliff thing, and then we had the Kyo's reaction to Tohru existing.
Yes. Yeah, it explains a lot
we
about
talked
their
about it
relationship.
Yeah, like in that first chapter where they meet up, where we talked about it in the spoilers at that time, where he says why is a girl here? Where he corrects himself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she as if he knew. Something we definitely would have skimmed over in the non-spoilers for sure.
Yeah,
goes along with my always calling Kyoko's silhouette at the accident as like a woman, a bloodied woman.
Yeah. Yep, another thing we've been seeing for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, and just the whole Kyoko died 4 months ago, and Kyo's been in the woods for 4 months.
I can't believe. I also remember reading this for the first time, being like, wait, and looking back at the first volume, being like, it says it right here. It was foreshadowed from the beginning. We definitely also talked about that before too, where it's like, from the beginning. It's structured that it said that Kyo went to train in the mountains or whatever, but he wasn't training in the mountains. He was extremely depressed.
Yeah.
After the accident. And it's foreshadowed from the very beginning of the story that they were. I wonder if anyone listening had caught that. I don't know. I would be interested to know if someone was like, "Oh, it says that he's been gone for 4 months and she's been gone for 4 months, so probably they're related." But I don't know. The first time I read it, it was mind-blowing.
I feel like there's probably someone who's like, I have a wild theory that's probably not true. And then, as it went on, they're like, maybe it is true.
Yeah. Maybe I'm right. And then they kept flipping the page. Like, maybe I'm right.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want it to be true, but it is.
Yeah.
This is the first time. We know that Kyo knew Kyoko, but this is the first time that Kyo told Tohru that he knew Kyoko. I think it's important to point out.
Yeah.
I think we saw a lot of this time of him as a kid with Kyoko in a couple of these memories, but not the time where they talked and whatever. I think how they met for the first time.
Yeah.
I loved her dialogue where she's just like, "This kid's saying stuff. He's angry and he's saying stuff," or whatever. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Where she's like, "He's so not cute. He's adorable."
Yeah.
But yeah, another early spoiler was back at, I think it was the Valentine's episode where Shigure makes the comment about Kyo feeling like he had to hate Yuki, and then he has that memory of Kyoko saying that thing and freaks out about it.
Yeah, finally revealed. Also, another very early spoiler. Yeah, the reason that was so triggering is because it was the exact same thing that Kyoko said to him as a child. It's like, oh, you want him to be like that, don't you? You want him. You need someone to hate. Shigure said, you want Yuki to be like that, don't you? And he was like, what the hell? And ran away.
Yeah.
He's like, get out of my brain.
So much payoff.
I know. I was like, oh, it's not going to be spoilers. Then I remember there's still, there's 14 chapters of this left, and there are still spoilers to be spoiled, so.
Yep.
But for now, no spoilers. It's only reveals. So many reveals.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting that we, again, had the anime episode that we watched was Kyo's beach stuff, which included a lot of these things. It included allusions to him knowing Toru's mom and the promise, and then we saw the bet, which was also repeated in this chapter.
Yeah.
And he says, like, we get like another take on it again, where he says, like, it's not that I was happy to hear what we, I guess, assumed was that he would be happy to join the Zodiac, but what he says is, I was happy that I had another reason to hate Yuki. It has nothing to do with wanting to join the Zodiac. He doesn't care about that. So
yeah,
or he doesn't seem to.
I think we've talked a bit in the past about how like it kind of seems like he doesn't really like believe that he can like actually join the Zodiac. He's just kind of something he's clinging to, which is kind of like confirmed here. It's like he didn't even like really consciously like care about that. It was just that he had another reason to hate Yuki, which was what he was like clinging to like get by after his like severe depression.
Pretty much, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you that it's confirmed by a single line of text.
Yeah.
a new take. A lot of these like memories we've seen before, but these are like further, deeper reveals about how he felt instead of just what happened. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like how he
more
felt about
context
Yuki.
to
Yeah, exactly.
everything.
How he felt. I mean, yeah, we've seen a million times. You know, Kyoko, his like the nightmare that he had of Kyoko, all these things that we knew that he was there at the accident, but it's like you actually see the actual event, the way that she like looks back over her shoulder and like clearly sees him right before she gets hit by the car, and like her saying, "I won't forgive you." I think like we've seen that a bunch of times. I don't remember if we had talked about. I think I probably said before that you could tell that it's Kyoko. I can't remember. But that's been repeated a bunch of times earlier in the series too.
Yeah, another time it was foreshadowed is the chapter where they first go to Kyoko's grave, and like Hana is like, "Why are you standing before a grave with feelings of guilt?"
Yeah, if there was a person out there who noticed the 4 months and then saw that, they're like, "Ooh, my clue."
Yeah.
Well, we also just saw the same memory foreshadowed in the beach episode we just watched too, where he is thinking about. We said that they seem to purposefully kind of like construe it with Kyo's mom, but I think this is the chapter where it's revealed that it was Kyoko that said that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with his mom. Kyo has a lot of guilt around both his mom and Toru's mom, but that's
like he obviously like he obviously like conflates the two a lot in his head, where he like feels like he like spent so much time telling himself it wasn't his fault, but he thinks like no, it really is. He feels guilty over.
He's like, I killed them both. Like he says to her. I'm just looking up my notes to see if there's more Kyo specific things to say.
I was just trying to read some of the characters you have listed.
俺を好きだ。俺を好きだだと思う。お前がかわいそうだ。バカみたいかわいそうだ。
Yeah, it's like I was reading I was like, Baka
mitai. Like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have translation issues. I have translation things to say. I don't have any resolution, but I spent a significant amount of time yesterday doing some grammar research, because he says, so it's the reason I even thought about this in the first place is because I was just like, the way he says you're stupid, it just seems so not Kyo. So I looked at the Yen Press translation. So the line that he says in the Tokyo Pop, he says, I feel sorry for you for thinking like that. You're stupid. I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry. And then he switches to, I'm apologizing, right? So in the Yen Press translation, it says, it doesn't say anything about I feel sorry for you, but it says like that you think you like me. So it's like, you think you like me and I feel bad for you? Hold on, wait, let me find it. Yeah, he says, you think you're in love with me. I feel bad for you. I feel awful for you. I'm sorry. as opposed to whatever I just said. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so I looked, because I was like, one says, you're stupid, and then the other one says, you you think you like me. And those two things are completely different in my head. Like, one, like, you can't just, like, one just removes the, like, you're stupid, and the other one removes the I feel bad for you for thinking that you like me, right? So, and then I looked at the original, so I guess my best guess is he says, like, you think that you like me, you're, like, kawaii soda is, like, it's pitiful. Baka mitai kawaii soda is, like, baka mitai is, like, the thing about the word, so it could be stupid, like, that's stupid, or, like, mitai is, like, it's like, so, like, the example in the textbook that I was looking at said, like, she says the same thing over and over again, like a broken record. So, like a broken record, mitai means like a broken record. So it's like, baka mitai means like an idiot, or like a baka. But, like, baka could be, like, ridiculous or stupid. Like, it has all these different sort of, like, specific connotations. So I wonder, like, if you could translate it as being, like, you're stupid, or, like, you're acting stupid, or, like, this situation is stupid, because it's so ambiguous in the way that Kyo speaks, and also just, like, the way that is required for communicating something in Japanese is always kind of ambiguous. Like, the subject is absent, or, like,
I do feel like it kind of,
but yeah.
Anyway. I do feel like it kind of matches, like, some of their previous translation. Like, I was
Yes.
thinking of the bit where she, like, talks about how she had, like, imitated the way her father spoke, and he's, like, thinking about that, and he says, like,
It's stupid, and
like, he's saying, like, that's such a stupid thing, I bet she looks so stupid, like,
Yeah.
while he's thinking about that and stuff. Like,
it seems to fit. It's just interesting that one translation completely removes it. Like, I don't know what the right, like, the thing about translation is that it's an art, not a science. So, like,
yeah.
both of them communicate the same idea. In terms of, like, the other thing where it's like, he says, what's interesting to me is that one translates it as, you think you love me. I feel sorry for you because you think you love me. And the other one says, I feel sorry for you because you love me, or whatever. And it's like, or because you like me. And it's like, you think you like me is completely different than, like, I don't know, not completely, but it's interesting. It's one is, like, it sounds, like, more presumptuous, but I think, like, it's, I guess it's, like, you could say you think you like me, because she didn't actually say it. Like, he's like, do you like me? And then he goes into all these other things. Like, she never actually replied until after that, right? He's like, oh yeah, I thought so, or whatever. So it could be that he's actually saying that you think you like me, or it could be, like, when she confesses her feelings, she says the same thing, like, that, like, tsukida to omo means I think I like you, or whatever, as opposed to, like, suki desu or tsukida, right? So it could be, I feel like another thing from my limited experience is that it could be more like softening what she's trying to say. Instead of confirming I'm in love with you, she says I think I like you. So, because then later in her own thoughts she says something that's not the same. Like, she doesn't say tsukida to omo, she says something else. I can't remember exactly what it is. So anyway, it's just interesting. I think neither translation, like I said, neither one's wrong, but I think you could look at it and interpret them differently, and both of the translators have. And for something like this, it's interesting to look at it and see. So I have no definitive things to say. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
He says, in one translation, Kyo says Toru's mom wouldn't have died, and then in the end, like in the Tokyo Pop, it says she wouldn't have died, and the end press it says she didn't have to die. And I was like, okay, well, that rings of something weird too. So he says, it's like shinazu ni sundeita, which is like she lived without dying, is like literally what it says. It's a super weird thing to say. So it's like, I guess, like, she could have lived without dying, but it's like, it's such a weird, it must just, I'm not super, that's a piece of grammar that I don't really understand, and I had to Google. Like, I haven't been educated in that, but it's also interesting. Neither of them really say, like, it's just like I think, like, she wouldn't have died is more accurate. Like, she didn't have to seems like it was, like planned or something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't tell which one. Maybe like saying she didn't have to die also implies more of his like how he feels about his involvement. It's like she didn't have to die if I had done this thing, as opposed to she wouldn't have died if I had done this thing. Like as if it has more of a ring of like responsibility on his part, I guess, if you translate it that way. So anyway, just things that I noticed. I'm sure there's other things that are like both of their dialogue in some parts is very vague, so it'd be interesting to look at all of them. But anyway, it was a good time. Just comments with no resolution. I hope you all enjoy it. Now you learned the phrase bakamitai. I hope you enjoy. Use it wisely.
I could read all of those.
I'm proud of you.
The bakamitai part, anyway.
Oh my. Kyo, in the translation, it says he calls Kyoko, hey you, and she's like, hey you isn't very polite. He calls her omae, which is really funny. She's like, you just call me Kyoko. And he's like, omae, well, whatever. Is your hair natural? Is your hair real? And she's like, what? He's saying stuff. It's really funny. So sassy as a tiny child.
Yeah.
It was great. I love how he's also like, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Chill out with the threats.
Yeah. But Kyoko's like, I'm immediately going to adopt this sassy child.
Yes. She's probably like,
this lonely sassy child.
She's like, clearly something is up. He's sitting by himself on these construction pipes completely.
Yeah.
He's not with other children or adults, so something may be wrong. This is when you see a baby alone and you call the police.
Baby, are you
okay? Continuity jokes. I mean,
yeah.
Oh wait, actually, I think that's this episode. It was just so long ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to leave that part in, whatever it was that we talked about.
But I do like her, like the way she transitions from being like pretty like flippant and like silly with him to like immediately like that must be lonely and like sitting down with him, like,
recognizing that he could actually use some.
Yeah, goes into mother mode.
Yes. Best mom, Kyoko.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we get like a kind of a wisdom drop. Kyoko's back. We haven't seen her in such a long time.
Yeah.
Tohru's been growing.
It's like a denied wisdom drop.
Yes.
Because Kyo's like, fuck you.
She's like, I won't forget.
Yeah.
I'm gonna haunt your nightmares. You don't even know it. Yeah, it is a deny. It's like she gave him the wisdom and he was like, no. I need to be fueled by my hatred of Yuki. And really, who doesn't? I mean.
Yeah. It's her wisdom drop here also is, I think it's very rooted in her like past that we know of.
Yeah.
Like being considered good or bad, it's all stupid. If you focus on those things, you'll be wasting what time you do have. Like, yeah, I feel like in general she like relates to Kyo when she sees him. Like he reminds her of a younger her.
Yeah, a hot-headed, like someone who's desperately seeking.
She's like angry at the world. Not supported by not supported by their parents, and
seemingly no positive influence.
Yeah.
It's like Uo. I mean, she recognized those things about Uo too.
Yeah.
Also, it's very sweet. His reaction is hilarious when she pats his head and like smiles at him. He's like, "What is happening?" Like he's like, no one ever validated him.
Yeah, he's like, "Is this affection?"
Yeah. What's this feeling in my chest?
Because he says this is like really early on in his like adoption by Kazuma, so he's probably still not even used to getting affection from him yet.
Yeah. Especially not just like casual physical affection too, because everyone is so disgusted by him and the Soma family, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what his relationship was like with his mom or anybody else, but I seriously doubt anybody was just casually ruffling his hair, you know?
Yeah.
He was super shocked when Kazuma picked him up and carried him and stuff.
Yeah.
I love how Kazuma is like, oh, you better see her again. It's like, no, you don't talk to strangers, Kazuma. What the hell?
It's a different time.
The 90s?
Yeah.
The mid-2000s, I think,
actually,
by the time this came out.
Yeah. Well, when Kyo was a baby, it would have been...
The 80s?
90s.
The 90s?
80s, yeah. Yeah. It really was a different time. I don't think the stranger danger thing really started until, like, end of the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously kids were always being abducted, but I feel like the, like, whole, like, people freaking out about it.
Yeah, I remember my mom. Well, of course, my mom was a big true crime aficionado, so she was probably indoctrinating us for as long as possible to stay away from strangers. But I remember her being like, if someone talks to you and on the playground, you don't know them, or we don't agree that someone's gonna come pick you up, then like tell a adult.
Yeah.
In like probably by the mid-90s at least. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, kids in Japan just like spend more time unsupervised.
I was like, did he run around all night, like looking for her? Because Tohru said that she was out all night. Well, I guess it was like the morning by the time that Yuki like led her home and stuff. Because he left in kind of like the early hours in the morning, I think. So maybe Kyo went to see them in the morning, but he's just running around. She was like, "Yeah, go see that strange lady who talks to you. No big deal."
Yeah. Yeah, but I think of that like whenever I watch like anime with kids and they're just like walking around and taking the public trains to school. And
yeah, I mean we saw them in real life
when they're like 10. Yeah, I've been like rewatching Cardcaptor Sakura, and there's all these things where she's like, they're like, they're like 9, and they're just like, oh, me and my friend are just gonna go to this festival by ourselves, and like,
yeah. I think people were also more lax about those kinds of things in '90s in North America too.
Yeah,
it's just that now we're smart and realize that
that's
children
it's like
are prey.
Yeah, it's like it was a different time in general, and also a different culture in
for sure
in Japan compared to the U.S.
For sure. Listen, don't talk to strangers. I don't talk to strangers now, and I'm an adult. So
yeah, you're like, I need an adult. Wait, that's me.
It's me. I am an adult.
I did want to make note of the another like him having a similar thought process to Yuki again is like where he has this whole like it'd be better if I just disappeared. Like everyone would be happier kind of thing, which we saw like baby Yuki go through too.
And now Kyo's the baby. I mean,
yes.
Yes.
Yep. Well, we know he's emotionally behind Yuki as far as character development.
For sure. Well, also this is like I think when he's like it'd be better if I wasn't. He's like it'd be better if I wasn't alive, but I think he's thinking of the like confinement. Like it'd be better if I was gone. It'd be better if I wasn't here and stuff like that too. But I don't know. Yeah.
But he's also talking about it where he's like, why didn't my mom kill me instead of herself? And
I feel
like it's fucked up.
It's definitely fucked up. And also like part of his character flaw is that he puts blame on other people. It's like it's fucked up, but it's also like, why am I here? Why didn't my mom just kill me? Like, as opposed to something else. We have like Yuki's reaction is slightly different. Like things would just be better if I wasn't here. It has nothing to do with like other people, Yeah. If you compare them.
Yeah, his is more like a like. Obviously, nobody cares about me as a person since he was like always treated as a tool and like told he only mattered because Akito liked him. So
and also like that Kyo hated him, right? That everyone secretly hated him because he had this separate position. Whereas Kyo is like, I fuck up everything. I shouldn't be here. Yeah. Good, nice stark comparison. The part with, his parents is, it feels like we've seen this before, but not exactly. Like, I don't think we've ever seen this one specific scene where he's there and they're arguing. And there's, like, the addition of them, the family at the funeral talking about how they heard them arguing and stuff.
Yeah.
Seems like new information about his parents.
Yeah, I think, like, we see in, like, the actual kind of, like, stress that Kyo's mom was under. Like, I think, like, previously we just kind of seen the, like, her being, like, worried about his, like, bracelet and, like, denying everything. But I think we're seeing her, like we have the scene of her, like, crying while his dad is yelling. And
right. Despite the fact that his mom is sort of, like, the center of his focus and, part of, not the center, but, like, one of the things that still causes him much pain to this point in the story, we see surprisingly little of her, like of her actual, like the actual things that happened. Like there's mostly just the nightmare where she talks to him about being confined and like the time when he was little. I think during the True Form arc he has some memories of her, but like about this specific incident it's not like we've seen it, like what happened yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of feels like obviously he was really young at the time, so he probably doesn't like remember her that well, like what she looks
Yeah,
like and
that's
everything.
true.
Because it seems like every time we see her, it's just kind of she's pretty like vaguely outlined.
Yeah, her face is. It's kind of like how Akira
Yeah.
didn't really have a face. Like,
Hmm. Yeah,
same with
but
her.
also it's like he was obviously like kind of like mentally trying to shut this event out of his memory too.
It seems like that, yeah.
Hmm.
I guess with like Kyoko's death.
Unfortunately, he remembers his asshole father very well
No,
because
damn.
he's still around being an asshole.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the memory of Kyoko's death is fresher and
Hmm.
less less easy to deny. I guess like it was
Yeah.
implied in the anime episode that we saw that he was there when his mother died as well. So
Hmm.
oh, he also doesn't. It's not like the way that he talks about it when he tells Tohru is like he still hesitates. He says my mother like died in an accident.
Hmm.
Was that this time? Am I crazy? Hold on, wait.
I think it was like, wasn't it back at like the beach arc when she's
Right.
like first asking about his parents, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I like talked about it already."
Yeah.
He starts to say like, "My mother killed herself," and then like stops himself and says like she died in an accident instead. I think this time he says like,
He doesn't actually say what happened, but he says it was the same with my mom. She flew and she died. It wasn't a car, but she said she was sorry for giving birth to me and that she felt so sorry for me and that it was too hard to be near me.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's implied, but he didn't actually say it to Tohru, I think. Well, and then we see his memories, of course.
yeah,
That's what people are saying.
yeah.
That's what
It's
his
like he
dad
doesn't
said.
actually say the words, but he's still like saying it. I think
Yeah, I think so.
because he's like she said all these things about how it was too hard, and then the next day she died, and
Right.
then he says it was all his fault. So
Everything is Kyo's fault. I thought it was interesting how there's this narration for it's Kyo's seems to be Kyo's inner monologue. There's a lot of like kind of ambiguous narration in some of these parts of this chapter, but he thinks the only things I ever did were for myself. I cared only about my own penance, and through everything I ignored your feelings. Sometimes you never get the chance to apologize to someone, and I knew that. Blah blah blah. And so it's obvious that he's talking about Tohru, but I also think it's really interesting that then you move into this confrontation between Tohru and Akito, and it applies to them too. So you have a
yeah, I
little
think
thread
it's
that ties them all
deliberately.
together.
Yeah, I think it's deliberately meant to apply to like everyone who shows up on those pages because
Yeah. It's
like even maybe Yuki to a degree.
yeah. Shigure. I mean,
Yeah, but like the fact that like we've seen like Kyo's like narration for the rest of the chapter is in the white boxes, and then these ones turn into the black boxes, and it's shown over like a bunch of different characters. So
yeah, it's
yeah, I think it's deliberately
ambiguous.
yeah
It doesn't seem
deliberately
to
meant
be
to like could be anybody.
could be anybody. Also the same applied to like the narration that I'm pretty sure applies to Tohru in the last chapter that we read, where she says like it's like don't cry anymore about Akito. Oh wait, let me find it. Yeah, it says Akito-san,
It's the
Akito-san,
beginning of
don't
the
cry.
last
Please don't cry
chapter.
when you're alone. It's okay. The scary part is over. So that's the beginning of chapter 122, and it's sort of like ambiguous narration. It's not really over anybody. It's when Akito is like running to find somebody, and then like the rest of the narration boxes are Tohru's. So then it goes into Tohru like being passed out and thinking, "Don't cry. Who's crying? Is it Akito-san or Kyo-kun?" And then
Yeah,
I have to tell him, "I'm glad I met you."
yeah, I think it's kind of supposed to be like her like thoughts of like what she saw like before she like fell down. It's like her continuing thoughts as she's like wavering on consciousness.
Yes.
Because like the last thing she saw was like Akito crying, and so she's like, still kind of on that image. And then like as she starts to come back into consciousness again for a minute, it's Kyo crying. So
So many people to care about. But yeah, I just thought it was a
it's
little.
just her kind of being like, I want to help these people.
I'm almost passed out, but I'm trying to help them.
Yeah, I think it's a nice kind of another one of those kind of like summing up a big part of the series kind of narrations.
All right, I want to talk about Tohru.
Okay.
It's finally Tohru's time, because finally this is the culmination, I think, of all of her growth in this series so far, where we saw her really clinging to the memories of her mom, And then it turned out in recent chapters that it was almost like she was sort of clinging to the feelings of loneliness and sadness about losing her mom more so.
Mm-hmm.
And that her kind of like idea of the permanence that she wanted to keep and like the relationship she wanted to keep with her mom was about not forgetting and not letting go of those sort of negative feelings rather than something positive.
Yeah.
And she admits that I think it's a line that's interesting is that she admits that the love that she was feeling for Kyo scared her. She says like, just as I'm falling in love, if continuing to change is part of life, how cruel it is. I was so troubled by it. Like she was troubled by the feelings of love that were starting to develop, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Way to describe something one would normally see as positive, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how we get like determined Tohru in these chapters. Like
my favorite. Her face, they're like so Kyo says all of his stuff over like 1.5 chapters, and then you flip the page and it's like her determined face at the top where she's like, or she says like I don't forgive you, and then you flip it and it's her face in that panel is so determined is like also one of my favorite.
Yeah, I love that
panels.
bit. They're like, I won't forgive you, and then she's like, is that what I have to say? Or
yeah. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Tohru's sassing him.
Yeah, and then like even after, like when Kyo runs off, Yuki's like, you should go inside, and she's like,
Nope.
nah, fuck that.
Nah, I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yeah.
I also love that she's like, why can't you just accept that I love you? Like,
Yeah.
It's not, I love you. It's like, why can't you just accept it?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
It's like, it took me a long time to get here, so I'm not changing, so... Yeah.
I'm not changing my goddamn mind, she said. I fucking love the Somas. It's one of the best parts of her character, I feel. Like, we see it so early on, too, like when she pushes Akito away, when she meets her at school for the first time, and shoves Shigure and all these things, like...
Yeah.
It's not like she's just...
Yeah, I had strong flashbacks to her determined face when... during the true form arc when she turns back around and
looks over her shoulder
goes
and
back to Kyo.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's another good one. I feel like you could look at Tohru and easily be dismissive that her kindness makes her, easy to push over, that she doesn't stand up for herself much, but I think in the times that she decides that she cares, we get to see it.
Yeah, I think it's the like as we've seen, like especially like when we started getting like foolish traveler stuff, it's like she's not a pushover. She just thinks being like kind to people is worth it, even if she winds up like at a disadvantage sometimes.
Yes.
But, so we see her like. So when we see her like determined moments, it's like obviously she's capable of being super determined and
demanding,
sticking up for like what she like strongly believes in. So
I like how they're like Kyo and Tohru are kind of like the immovable object and the unstoppable force or whatever, where he's like, I can't believe there's anything redeeming about me that you would like, and then she's like, why can't you just accept that I love you? Like,
yeah,
if I had to simplify it.
Yeah. She's like, you're still great and I'm gonna love the fuck out of you, so just deal with it.
Just accept it. Get on board with the plan. I thought it was really interesting how Tohru says this really similar thing. I mean, that's about Kyo and Tohru, but Tohru says a really interesting thing to Akito, because we have then the confrontation between Akito and Tohru, where it reminded me of what Ren said to Akira, where she said, "You've been lonely." That's like what she leads with her conversation with Akito about. And like recognizing that she was alone and that no one was doing anything, and it just I don't know if it's, I mean, I assume that that's intentional, and also Akira is shown literally right before that in Akito's memories and stuff, but I thought it was interesting how similar it was. I mean, Ren be cray, we've seen. Like, Ren is clearly delusional. I don't think that Tohru is, but just the way that it almost like, I guess
I think it's just
Akito are similar.
Yeah, just the kind of like the like kind of unrealized isolation of the characters in those positions of like
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote power.
Yeah.
Like
In Akira's case, it's definitely quote unquote. Actually, in Akira's too, we
Yeah.
saw how the maids basically decided a bunch of shit
Yeah.
for him and were against a lot of things that he wanted. So
Yeah. Because like one of the big like concepts in these chapters is the whole like being held above everyone is like the same as being like left out. Like you're not part of the group, whether you're
yeah,
like being shunned or considered like above them. So
yeah, for sure.
that specifically made me think the whole idea of like being like not part of a circle
Mm-hmm.
made me think of the like whole like way back at the beginning of the fruits basket game
Mm-hmm.
with Tohru. So
That's
it's kind of
true.
another little parallel between them.
They're foils. We talked about it. They have the same issues. Tohru is left out and wants to be included. The Somas, the juunishi specifically, are the group that she becomes a part of. Like Akito's statement about her, like almost like usurping her place as someone who's, I don't know, like cared for by the group while still being an outsider is true. I mean, it's kind of that's what happened, and
Yeah.
it is another parallel, I think, to go back and say like another representation of this idea is the Fruits Basket game from very early on in the series. So what I'm saying is I agree, I guess, in a number of ways.
Yeah.
That idea of like taking someone's place and being left out, that's like the core of, I mean, it's a long running theme in the series. We talked about, I mean, like the Juunishi themselves are seen as outsiders. We talked about how like it's, I remember we had a long discussion in the past about like, you know, like who's outside and who's inside. We had the beach situation where Akito's on the outside, everybody else is inside. We also have like just conceptually that the Somas are treated as outsiders and different than, you know, like whatever the quote unquote normal people are because of their transformations. And then this,
Yeah.
just that Akito, the original story that we're presented with is that God is like part of the zodiac, above the others, their master, but still part of the curse. And then what the the turn in this chapter, I guess, is that Akito is no different. Akito's just as isolated as almost an outsider already. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like even before it was explicit, we've seen some of that imagery before, like especially in the like Yuki's flashbacks, where like Yuki is sitting beside Akito, and they're both like just watching everyone else have fun in the whatever family reunion thing going on.
I couldn't tell if the and yeah, it's interesting. Like Akito has this little flash of being like they'll all leave me or whatever, and it's like Kureno and Momiji, which makes sense. But also like Shigure, and there's a face that's like partially obscured. I couldn't tell if it was Hiro, but I'm pretty sure that is Yuki. It's like Yuki's profile. Like the people who've moved on and left her behind. Specifically the people who betrayed her, she felt. The ones who were closest to her in whatever way. I found it kind of interesting that like Shigure was also included in that. Like like I guess he betrayed her by sleeping with Ren or whatever, but
Yeah, I think also the like the fact that like he moved out without like protest when
yeah.
like she was telling him to get out. And then like we have the like we saw recently the scene with Ren where she was like, oh, Shigure and Yuki have abandoned you because they both like moved outside of the main house area. So
Yes. I think it's interesting that Akito describes outsiders as like strangers. We moved to this whole thing where she's like, I can't live in a world with strangers. I can't live in a world where things aren't guaranteed. Where friendship isn't guaranteed. And she says interesting stuff like, I'm afraid of the world. Like, I feel like Akito just represents...
She made me get I'm afraid of Americans stuck in my head.
Yeah. There's definitely no connection to any kind of real world event that's happening, but any of the themes in this chapter at all. Her unwillingness to recognize the You know, it's Tohru says these things like, you've recognized that things have to change. Like, it can't be permanent. I felt the same way as you did, but I've realized that I have to move on. And Akito's like, I don't want to live in a world like this. Tohru's like, well, like, I'll be the first one to help you make this change.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, like, the line in that like really struck me was the, like, I have no guarantee that anyone will love me. Because, like, you know, she spent her whole life being told, it's like, no, you're guaranteed to have these people, like, love and adore you. And it's, like, obviously not true. And so it's like, it's like, she's like, I don't know how to live in a world other than that one I've lived in my whole life. Like, like, how am I supposed to talk to people and not have a bond automatically? That means we have to care.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Well, even, like, in the family, like, even people outside of the juunishi, like, Akito's still the head of the family. Like, people still, like, have a connection to her. But I think it's, like, the total outside world, the idea of not having that any bond at all.
Yeah.
The world that Kureno perhaps tried to convince her to be a part of last time. Those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is scary. If you'd never... Things that are, like, completely reasonable, like, oh, yeah, you gotta, like, take a chance and make friends. You might get hurt, but it's okay. Like, some of the things, like, even Shigure said, one of my favorites, the, like, you gotta hurt people and be hurt by them. Akito doesn't know those things, so of course she would be afraid.
Yeah.
But, like, I think we did talk about this last time, too. I remember because I was just editing it recently, that the importance of change and people's willingness to change, and it's not too late to change, is probably the biggest theme of the series. And I think this is, like... This is the apex of demonstrating that. Akito's unwillingness, and it's not even unwillingness at this point, it's like fear of change.
Like, she just doesn't know how.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that, that, like, deliberately ambiguous narration we were talking about, the part that made me specifically think of Akito is the thing at the end where it says, if I'm just going to repeat the same thing, how's that any different than not knowing at all?
Yeah, that's true. That does also sound like Akito. Like some of Akito's issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that I guess I noticed during this, like, read through of the series is, like, there were a lot of characters that I knew were sort of, like, connected or, like, idealistically connected in their conceptually connected, but I never thought that of Kyo and Tohru and Akito all being sort of, like, connected by this one thing, and, like, kind of Yuki too.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was another interesting, like, reread take that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's kind of like at the start of the series, it's obvious that, like, Yuki, Kyo, and Tohru are kind of like the, like, three-way protagonists of the series.
Right.
But I feel like kind of by the end, Akito kind of becomes a protagonist also for, like, the end of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if you're talking about, like, the main characters right now, it would be like Yuki, Tohru, Kyo, and Akito. Like,
yeah, definitely. And then, like, the kind of the characters that are touched by them. So you have, like, Kureno's involved a lot, and like Machi, I guess, with Yuki, and then Kyo and Tohru, of course, and, like, Shigure is involved with Akito, and as well. So
so it's kind of funny. It's kind of not funny, but, like, interesting how kind of, like, the early series antagonist becomes, like, one of the, like, sympathetic main characters at the end. Yeah.
Definitely. I think we also talked about that in spoilers a long time ago, too. That's, like, Akito is not... Akito starts off as someone who seems to be empowered and controlled. I think in the recent events of the last episode that we had, it's, like... That's not the case. First of all, it's not the case at all. And Akito's, just being you know, is part of the game just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And on top of that, maybe more sheltered than anybody else in the series, and less, like, kind of emotionally developed with any kind of, like, emotional maturity, because everyone just, like, coddled her for her whole life. So another interesting, like, I guess a flip, but on a character that gets revealed so late in the series.
Yeah, also kind of a like, kind of ongoing theme of the series too, I think, is, like, the fact that there isn't really a villain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like, most characters we see, like, kind of another side to them, even if they're, like, mostly bastards. Like, there's very few that are just, like, straight up awful people.
Yeah, for no reason, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and like even the ones who are just awful people, you kind of understand where they're coming from,
Yeah, like
even
I
if
was
it
just thinking
doesn't
about like
justify it at all.
yeah, like Kyo's dad is afraid and
Yeah.
upset. It's like
Mm-hmm.
again, yeah, his actions are completely not justified at all, but it comes from
Mm-hmm.
fear,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the maid is the most evil character of all.
Yeah, and it's like even her like like you can kind of see like there's some kind of like there's a motivation to her, like her like desire to keep to the traditions and stuff. Like you can kind of understand like what her motivation is, even if it's like stupid.
Yeah. I feel like the maid should be lumped in with the people who wanted change and permanence in this
Yeah.
story. But more for the like the family as a whole and the
Yeah.
juunishi and how there's a representation of like the almost like the health and the prosperity of the family, right? So
Yeah. So it's just kind of the idea that it's like just like in real life, it's like there's not a single bad guy. There's just like everyone dealing with their shit in different ways, and sometimes that winds up, splashed onto other people, and
yeah, or purposefully
yeah,
doused onto other people, like in Kyo's case, and in Akito's
yeah,
case too, for sure. So we had Kyo and Toru's interaction. We have Akito and Tohru, and then we had like a little stuff with Yuki and Shirei, which we kind of already talked about. But then the last part, obviously, is with Tohru reaching up to try to connect with Kyo, and then the kiss, the great kiss. Question mark, I guess.
It's such a Toru thing that like as she's like losing consciousness and blood, probably that she's like trying to reassure Kyo.
Yes, and also theoretically Akito, who was nowhere to be found in that moment, but she'd been talking to her right before.
Yeah, she's just like, please don't cry, both of you.
Kyo's like, shut up, I get it, shut up, please.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, do you think that Kyo's actually touching like the ground near her and there's actually blood, or and then that he actually was like somehow bloodied in the incident with Kyoko, or is this some kind of Lady Macbeth situation where he just like has the guilt for affecting both of them,
I think he might have actually touched Toru and got blood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he touched Kyoko, but I think his mind is like going like the blood on his hands, like metaphorically and physically, and like bleeding together with his memories of Kyoko lying in the bloody pool.
Yes. Soon he'll be running around saying, "Out damn spawn."
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. You can only have so many people on your conscience.
Hell is murky, fie, my lord, fie.
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? I feel like if anybody would go Lady Macbeth, it would be Ren, though. But Ren didn't actually stab anybody, so...
Yeah. She tried.
Then she tried to get Akito to kill her, which was also, not a great move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have any other things to say that aren't spoilery.
I want to say that I love like Yuki's grumpy face as Kyo comes up behind him at Toru's unconscious body. It's like, this fucking idiot.
This fucking idiot's back. And the first thing he says is not like, "Hey, are you okay?" It's like, "Don't fucking touch her." So
yeah.
It's like, I don't give any shits about you right now. I love how he's also like, why is he making her cry? That's like the thought. I always wonder how much of their conversation he heard. He's like, I don't really know what's going on, so I guess it implies that he didn't hear very much.
Yeah, I think he only really caught the end as he was coming out the door.
He burst through the door right on time.
Yeah,
like,
I do love that. Yeah, I love that. Like, I think that kind of shows the like kind of changing relationship, or at least from Yuki's perspective of like Yuki and Kyo, because like just the way he's like acts, where he's like, he comes out the door and he's like, you stupid Kyo, wait, like he's talking to him, like trying to get him to like stop and come back and be sensible, like.
Because I feel like, well, I mean, I guess he's probably like doing it because he cares about Tohru, but
it's just such a like,
yeah,
it's just such a like familiar kind of way of like like yelling at someone who is being stupid, rather than like
get the fuck back here.
Rather than like a confrontational rival kind of thing, like.
Yeah, it's not like he was like I fucking hate your guts and you need to apologize. He was just like, you're really screwing this up and I know that it's
Yeah.
going to be better if you don't, you know? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it does feel like that.
Mhm.
Yuki's the unsung hero in this chapter. He's the one who, like, calls the ambulance.
Yeah.
Tells Kyo not to touch her.
Yeah. Also,
He's like,
another
nobody's
little
doing anything. Goes to the ambulance himself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Also, another little bit I love is like Akito just sitting on the porch waiting for the ambulance, and then like she jumps up when she hears it.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. Also, yes, showing her concern.
mhm.
It's like Shigure just sits there. I mean,
Still hungover.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, can we please stop? Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone stop with the moving and the sounds. What actually happened after he put the jacket on Akito is that he just like laid down on the porch.
Yeah. It's like nice, cool wood. Feels nice.
True sign of drunkenness is laying on the floor. Everybody knows that. Maybe I'm revealing too much about myself this episode. I mean, all right. Do you have any other things that you want to say that aren't spoilery?
Let me see.
As stated earlier, even though there's very few chapters left, I still have spoilers that I'd like to discuss with you all.
Yeah.
Somehow, even in the 120th chapter, still things are being revealed that were not revealed before.
Yeah. I do want to say that my very first note for these chapters is Kyo, stop being a dick.
I stand behind you in your assertion, and I think
Yeah.
Yuki would too.
Yeah. He's just doing such a like you see the people do it before, the like, I'm gonna, piss you off so you don't care about me anymore kind of thing. Like,
he's like, let me tell you all the awful things that I think about myself.
Yep. It's like, let me tell you how stupid you are for caring about me because I'm awful. Like,
Yeah. And she's like, but I still
by
care
the way, you're
about you.
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, your feelings are stupid. And she's like, I still feel them. And he's like, shit. There's nowhere to go but away from here.
Yeah. I do think, I know we already talked about it, but I think Tohru, like, immediately responding to his thing with, like, I won't forgive you. Is that what I have to say? Like, is like a top tier Tohru moment.
So good. I feel like we should make a top Tohru moments for our finale.
Yeah.
It's definitely one. I think pushing Akito is like one of my probably, I don't know if it's second favorite. It's a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Standing in front of Momiji.
Yeah.
Just like crying with Momiji when they're talking about his mom.
Mm-hmm.
Just being a nice person, generally speaking.
Yeah.
In the series of so many people who aren't emotionally able to give themselves or any other last thoughts. Going once.
No, I think that's all for.
Okay, let's talk about spoilers because there's some things that I want to talk about.
Should we say goodbye first and then do spoilers?
No. Bye. I mean. So anyway, we're back to talk spoilers. No, just kidding. All right, next time we're going to talk about. Oh, this is important. We're going to talk about. Because I changed the schedule. Sorry, I didn't tell you yet. Joke's on you. Next time we're going to talk about 123 to 125. So 3 chapters. I decided we should just do all of them. Because then after that, there's more different stuff. It's all like, whatever. We're breaking all the rules. We got like 14 chapters left. Less than 15 chapters left. So 123 to 125. Revolution. Just a screaming for solutions. Yeah, that's how it goes, right? To you and you and you and you. Okay, that's your like obligatory musical reference for the episode too.
Yep.
Hope everyone enjoyed it. Okay, next time 123 to 125. Thank y'all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, now we're actually back to talk about spoilers. Or do you want to sing more? Rent.
I mean, always, but.
I said with 14 chapters to go, still spoilers in my notes, excitedly.
Yeah. I think we had the same 2 spoilers in the same order.
Probably, which is
Yeah.
Kyo's dad's involvement in like harassing and abusing his mother to the point of
Yeah.
of you know, taking her own
Driving her to
life
suicide.
theoretically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is something I think we could have inferred at multiple times up to this point, but yeah, it becomes
Yes.
explicit during
Yes.
Kyo's confrontation with his dad.
Yeah, and also like they added the added little statement that they argued the night before and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, ooh, that wasn't a little detail that was there before.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. So that's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Kyoko's dying words to Kyo.
Yep.
They're like, I'll never forgive you. But she's like, if you don't keep your promise, I'll never forgive you. So much more touching instead of being hurtful.
Yeah.
Tohru was right. Kyoko would never say that because she's a nice person.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, as you're reading it, you're probably like thinking that you're like, that's not a very Kyoko thing to say, like, especially after seeing like her like heartwarming interactions with baby Kyo and
Yeah.
like everything we know
With
about
everyone.
Kyoko. Like, yeah,
Yeah. I do feel like if I have one memory from the past of reading this, other than squeeing in delight at the kiss, it would be that I was like, I can't believe that she would have said that because like it doesn't make sense.
that's one of the like last things we see in the series, isn't it?
I think it's like the last chapter.
Kyoko's like dying moments. Yeah.
What happened to Kyoko? She was dying. 136, according to my notes. So yes.
Yep. So it's like the very last spoiler of the series.
Yeah. I mean, I think the like I'll never forgive you was said before. Like I think that was also in the memories and like maybe the nightmare. I forget. But
Yeah, I think we've seen the I'll never forgive you before, but like it was over a vague image of a bloody person.
yes. Now we know it's bloody Kyoko.
Yeah.
Well, good. We can talk about what happens next. Which basically what happens next is there's this like interim period before Kyo and Tohru get together where Akito is going and apologizing and talking to people and
Yeah.
having her sort of redemptive conversations.
Yep. Yuki and Kyo have it out for the last time.
Yes, such a good fight.
Yeah. Work out where they actually stand with each other as normal human beings.
Where they're like, I like you, and he's like, I like you too.
Yeah.
Now go to the hospital, you coward.
Yeah.
We talked about last time, I'm sure, that when he gets there it's closed and whatever, which is hilarious.
Yeah. Asshole Yuki strikes again.
His greatest act, I think, of
Yeah.
vigilante justice.
Yeah. I love how he becomes like much more just like kind of, I don't know, friendly dickish toward Kyo. And like there's one point where like he says something smart ass to Kyo and Kyo's just like, you're really not pulling your punches anymore.
He's just like, I give up on hating you, but I'm still gonna think that you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
You can lovingly think that someone is being dumb. It's fine.
Yeah. It's like, now you're my friend and I'm much meaner to my friends. Just ask Kakeru.
Yeah, exactly. I expect them to behave, comport themselves in a certain way, and you're not meeting my standard. And I would like you to know. There's Yukimachi stuff coming up, which is really cute. I reread that when I was quote unquote preparing for this, in which I've read through all the rest of like volume 21 or whatever because it's good.
Yeah, you get just kind of the resolution on all the relationships coming up, even the like minor ones, like like we get a cute like Ayame and Mine scene, and yeah, we get some like Hattori and Mayu, and
yes, yeah, everybody gets their little moment when the curse breaks and around then, and then the kind of like the real reveal about the Juunishi story, and then what really happened when Kyoko was dying. I think those are the last bits.
Yeah. So there's not too much like traumatic left. I think most things are.
Oh, good.
Most things are relatively lighthearted coming up.
Thank goodness. Well, except for Kyo going to visit his dad, I guess.
Yeah, there's that.
I think just that, only that.
Yeah. Well, even that ends. That ends on a high note. Like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Akito's like, I'm gonna go over and tell that guy to go fuck himself, basically.
I'm gonna tear the cat's room down with my bare hands.
Yeah.
That's how it happens, right? I mean, always spreading the truth. That's my goal. Okay, I don't have any other things to say. I mean, spoilers, we talked about them. They're coming. I'm excited.
Yep. It's all happening.
In summary, it's happening. It's almost happened. So
Yes.
we got 2-ish volumes to go. So weird that more than a year ago we were like, we should start a podcast, and it's almost done.
Come so far.
I know.
And here's the train.
Oh, the train's back.
Off.
All right. See us
Constant
gently.
companion. Our third co-host. The train.
Oh no, our third co-host is Bowie. The train is really more of a special guest.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, I was
Thanks
like,
for your
I hope
support, train.
Yeah, it's like I hope it whistles again, and it did. I'm gonna leave all this. I hope everyone enjoys this. Next time we'll talk about 123 to 125. Sweet Yuki Machi action, and Kyo and Yuki's fight. I'm excited. More screaming for me in my future.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gonna be good.
yeah. All right. Thank y'all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Train, that was your cue. I mean,
Train.
no. Now I'm
At least
disillusioned.
At least it waited for a chapter break. That was polite.
Yeah, I know. That is convenient, because usually when the train comes or we talk about something else, then I forget, and then it takes me like 10 minutes to remember what my place was. So I can also drink water, which is nice. Are you going to do a lot of voice acting for the FMA podcast?
There's a lot of yelling.
I mean, but also I feel like you get to do like full of yourself yelling if you're Ed, and then you get to do a lot of sad yelling, and
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's got lots of shonen yelling.
yeah. The like, I'm great kind of yelling.
Yeah.
And also like they don't have like moves, like not like, it's not like Moon Prism Power, but they have like, do they ever like well, I don't know, they don't like use their like nicknames or anything like that, because they all have their special like alchemy circles and shit.
Yeah. They don't really have names.
You know
I
what I'm
think
talking about.
I think Major Armstrong might call his attacks a bit.
Well, he's a whole other type of character.
Yeah.
He's like, and I call this one the Sparkle, and it's just like a giant rock that like crushes you or
Attack that's
something.
Attack that's been passed down the Armstrong line for generations.
I can't wait. On a related note, I was thinking that for our last episode, we should also record like some kind of preview about that podcast, but I don't know what it would be.
Do like a dramatic trailer with like voice acting and stuff.
In a world where alchemy reigns supreme. One very short boy who's half metal and his suit of armor brother are trying to change things. Doo-doo-doo.
Oh, another train.
What? That's too close together. That's dangerous. I think you should report it.
It might just be the same train further down the tracks. Being like, here I am now.
And now I'm down here. First I was here, now I'm here.